welcome back to Let Her Cook, brought to you by BSCN. I am Jackie Dutton, your resident chef and maker of all spicy takes in the crypto space here. If you are joining on X, Pump Fun, YouTube, welcome or welcome back. If it's your first time, you're in for a treat. Today we are making Albondigas soup, which is a Mexican meatball soup. It is gluten-free and dairy-free. Which is something I was told I should probably abide by. It's also amazing that when I do that, how much better I feel. But feel free to, add whatever ingredients you want to make this taste well. So today we're going to start by making the meatballs, and then we're going to also have to make a sauce kind of separately, and then you combine everything. And while we do that, we are going to talk about some crypto events. So first we're going to start with 2 pounds of ground beef, if I can actually get this package open. And you can also use 1 pound of ground beef and 1 pound of chorizo if you want. I don't really like chorizo, so we're just going to use ground beef. And I'm not even going to attempt to split this open. I'm just going to cut this and try not to cut my finger off. All right, and something fun today is I will actually be able to fairly consistently be able to see some comments pop up on the stream over here on my computer. So if you guys have any questions, comments, thoughts, I know we have a large event looming, a potential event, and that is a rate cut in a couple hours, or at least that's what they think is happening. All right, so we're going to start with 2 pounds of ground beef. All of these ingredients, so this is half of a bunch of cilantro chopped, half of a white onion, and then half, or at least 6 peppers from this chipotle pepper chilies in adobo sauce. So we're going to combine that in here with everything. I'm going to try and not spill that all over the place, but that happened. That's fine. We're going to take half of a cup of just white rice, not cooked, and 2 eggs. It is always amazing to me how similar Mexican food actually is to Italian food, just like with the ingredients that they had for the region. And then we are going to, I'm gonna wash my hands off. And then we are going to add some seasonings. So a little bit of salt. I'm going to use probably like 2 teaspoons of salt. We had a request for me to be a little more specific about my amounts of ingredients, and I am going to do a much better job of taking a picture and then also posting the ingredients with the exact amounts later, so that if you are interested in trying this recipe for yourself, feel free. Okay, and then I'm going to do about 1.5 tablespoons of chili powder, and the ever necessary, but this is like a love-hate ingredient, which is cumin, and I'm going to add close to 1 tablespoon of that. And now we're just going to mix this up with our hands. So impending rate cut today. Everybody has obviously been anticipating this for a while, and Trump in particular has loudly, as always, voiced his disapproval and his fairly negative opinion of Jerome Powell, who is the head of the Federal Reserve. If you don't know this already, the Federal Reserve is kind of an independent body. It's not a position nominated by the president, and it's kind of its own little autonomous group there. So Trump has no power to fire or get rid of Jerome Powell if he wanted to. The only thing he could do is just kind of like talk trash. And that hasn't gone over well. I feel like maybe we might not have gotten a rate cut in large part because Jerome Powell was just trying to stick it to the man at that point. But today we are expecting, at least for this month and then the next month, a rate cut of interest rates, which I believe the correct term for this is quantitative easing. So it allows money back into the market. And ideally, on the charts, it should produce some green candles. So we'll see about that. But here's hoping, right? Okay, so I am going to start making these meatballs kind of as fast as I can here. They don't need to be like huge, but I would say about golf ball size. Sorry. Apparently my dog had to sneeze. Okay. I'm actually not sure how many meatballs this will make, but it will be several. The good news is we don't need to bake these. Once we make the broth, we just start boiling the broth, and then we can just throw these in, and the broth will cook the meatballs on its own. In some fun other news, let me see that. That is so small. Hold on. Bullish rate cut, please. One of the comments is Trump could challenge Jerome Powell to a duel, like it is, 15th century France or whatever. I'm down. I'm down for that. We're already having a UFC match at the White House, reportedly. I don't know if that's actually going to go down. I mean, that is crazy. What in the idiocracy is happening? Isn't that a scene in Idiocracy where like the president is Terry Crews and he's like at a monster truck rally or something? Or a wrestling match? I think a fight breaks out. We are really approaching the singularity of idiocy. I don't think AI is helping anything. They just need to give all the plants electrolytes. Yep. We're about there. I have a friend who is a political commentator, and he's actually like very well known for doing an incredibly accurate voice Trump impression. But he was talking about an argument that he got into with somebody who was saying that they wanted free healthcare. And as he broke it down with this guy, he's like, okay, well, when you say free, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, somebody else pays for it. And he's like, really, who's the somebody else? And he was like, well, the government. And he said, well, who pays the government? He's like, well, our taxes. And he's like, so you are essentially paying with your tax dollars for this free healthcare. So it's not actually free. And the guy just refused to fold. He refused to admit overall that that's what that actually meant. And I was almost pulling my hair out listening to this story because I couldn't believe that there are people like this in the wild, just living and working and voting and in charge of things that you're like, wow, that's okay. Hello, baby dog. I don't know if you can see my little bug here, the shadow. Hi. It is finally getting cooler here on the East Coast, and I have to tell you that I really love autumn. It's beautiful. The leaves are gorgeous. The weather's nice and cool, but it's not freezing. Love autumn. Really dislike what shows up afterwards, though. Yeah, not my favorite. Let's see. Free at the point of delivery is the phrase. I know we have at least one British person in the chat with the, they have something called the NHS. And I've heard a real mixed bag about what that has turned into. If you would like to sound off in the comments of how well that actually works, I would love to know. It's one of my favorite questions when I meet a Canadian or a British person or anyone in Europe. Oh, what is that like? to know that you are not paying for a small car when something happens to you and you have to go to the emergency room. In other fun news, crypto prediction markets, because that seems to be what has the most attention. I did see the headline, and we will look at this later. I did see the headline that Polymarket is finally coming to the US. If you wanted to use Polymarket before any of this happened, before I think you could briefly use it a little bit before the election, and then it was banned in the US. And in order to even access the site, or at least access the actual betting, you had to use a VPN. And now, I think because of Kalshi, and Kalshi has the correct licenses and approvals, that Polymarket has finally followed suit. So they will be able to operate in the US legally, and US customers will be able to set up their bank accounts and on-ramp and off-ramp money. I am starting to wonder, though, if just because Polymarket seems to be the well-known name, or the more well-known name, if this will overtake Kalshi in terms of user base. But the people I know, like, I have family members that use, different sports betting apps, things like that. They have heard of Kalshi, and I'm not quite sure if they know what Polymarket is, because they're not crypto people. So it'll be interesting to see if Kalshi has really designated itself as just a prediction markets platform separate from crypto, and and if Polymarket has actually achieved that as well, or if it, because to me it feels like Polymarket is the bigger brand name. It was first, and it was kind of the thing that we were all using. Or at least looking through before the election last year. And then Kalshi kind of came out of the woodwork. And I remember it being like weeks before the election that all of a sudden Kalshi was, a contender, if you will. But I would be interested to know who is actually going to win this race overall for the bigger prediction market platform within the US. I think the global conversation is definitely Polymarket, though. Let's see, GM. Oh, and BNB Chain is rolling out their own prediction market as well. You know how I feel about BNB. Maybe somebody in the chat can answer this for me. I did come across a statistic that CZ himself, or maybe it's CZ in combination with Binance, they supposedly own over 70% of the supply of all BNB. Is that true? Because that is, my God. I do feel like that is part of the explanation for, and I've talked about this before, just miraculously, mysteriously, how whenever Solana starts to inch ahead of BNB on the charts, or they have a bigger market cap, I mean, it is less than 48 hours that BNB will just magically come up with enough money to just inch ahead of them in that race. Let's see. I saw CZ, he will donate 90% of his wealth. Will BNB go to zero? Well, I think that depends on what your definition of donate is. So like Michael Saylor, I know he doesn't have any kids, and he has said that he has planned to basically just hoard Bitcoin and then like delete the drive and just never do anything with it, and essentially lock in that supply forever. And that way, no one, it can never be sold. Maybe CZ will do something kind of similar to that. Yeah, donate to the burn address. Yeah. I think that's really lovely and very altruistic of somebody to do. At the same time, if you are just like a regular person and not a multi-millionaire head of a major company, you got to do what you got to do in this life. Okay. We all have bills and we all have shit to pay for. So you take care of you. Okay. I'm going to wash my hands off, and then we're going to talk about this sauce. Pro tip, make sure you wear gloves when you mix up this mixture because I have for sure stained my hands today with this adobo sauce. Let's see, tokenized stocks went live on B&B Chain today. Just that continued merger of TradFi and crypto. Gotta love it. All right, so to make this broth, we're gonna have to use a blender. There we go. And we're gonna start here with the other half of the bunch of cilantro. We're gonna do 6 garlic cloves. I know somebody commented on the amount of garlic that I use. Listen, garlic is wonderful. It's antifungal. It repels vampires. Very important this weekend. And, you know, if you don't want your spouse to touch you, it could also potentially keep them away. If you're looking for that, you know, but keep that in mind if you want the opposite effect. And 4 Roma tomatoes and then half of an onion goes into this. And you can just do like big chops on that. You don't need to dice it. And then we are going to use the rest of the can of the chipotle adobo sauce. I'm going to use about, let me see, maybe about 2 teaspoons of oregano, maybe a little less, like a teaspoon and a half. And 1 tablespoon of this tomato bouillon. And then we're going to top this with a little chicken broth, but the broth that we are going to use for the actual soup will be beef. You can use chicken broth. I'm just being extra. All right, so we're going to add just a little bit of the broth just so it gives it some liquid for friction. And then I'm going to put the lid back on so we don't have the world's most viral moment of me exploding this in my face. We're going to match this up and we're going to blend this. Okay. Now we have our meatballs. We have the base to our broth. So let's start assembling our soup, our Albondigas soup. Okay, so you're gonna do, I forget if this tells me, let's see, this is 32 ounces, 16 ounces, math. Okay. So we're gonna do at least 4 cups of broth. And I'm gonna turn this on because we need to bring the broth up to a boil first, and then we're gonna add the meatballs. And while we wait for that to happen, I'm gonna chop the other veggies because there's more. This is a healthy soup, you guys, like so healthy. Okay. Let me see. 1 NFT. Oh, let me think. No, camera 2 is still on. Let's see. Okay, and there's gonna be all this like leftover lovely goodness in the blender, and I'm just gonna use a little more broth to get all of it out. I think it would be fine to add at least 2 more cups, so I'm going to do about half of this. This soup is so like warm and comforting and like hearty. This is one of my favorite things. I'll switch this around. And we're going to get all of this out. Perfect. Okay, so while we bring this to a boil, just like this in the dish pile. And we're going to chop some potatoes, some celery, and talk about some other crypto things. Let's see, what am I cooking? I am cooking Albondigas soup, which is a Mexican meatball soup. Very delicious. I will post a picture and all of the recipe ingredients and details after the stream. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take a couple things of celery and we're going to go through some crypto topics here. I saw one of the most recent things I saw was Michael Saylor predicts Bitcoin will reach $150,000 by the end of this year. Wasn't he actually on point like a year or two ago for the Bitcoin 100K? I'm pretty sure he did call that. So, I mean, this is like, this man is autistic for Bitcoin. Like, this is like all he does. I would believe him. I think when other places say something like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's hitting 250 grand, that is like hopium for sure. But this guy is like the Nick Saban of Bitcoin, okay? He knows. He knows. Hi, baby dog. If you have pets that are in your home, you already know they're just like this ever-present thing always around me here. Hey, can you not? Thank you. I would love to tell you about how well trained my dogs are, but the truth is we actually got kicked out of obedience school. But let me tell you why, in my defense, what happened. Okay, so we got our first dog, right before COVID. We got him in February of 2020, like the end of February 2020. And by the time I had potty trained him, which was just like 2 or 3 weeks later, the whole world shut down, obviously, by the middle of March. So I looked up obedience lessons. I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to take him. We're going to do obedience lessons. I'm going to have the best trained dog, especially because my dog is 100 pounds and I am not much more than 100 pounds. So I did not want to have a dog that like was damn near equal weight with me that I couldn't control. So I looked up obedience lessons. It was COVID by this point. They weren't holding anything. I kept looking it up. And finally, I came across obedience lessons that, I shit you not, were being held on Zoom. And I was like, it's a dog, not a person working from home. So that is why my dog is not like well trained. I mean, he's like, well, he's good for me, but he's not really good for other people. And when they come over, he doesn't realize that not everybody wants a 100-pound body slam, okay? But he will give you one. So I'm sorry. If you see him around, he doesn't obey. He just kind of decides. And that's where we're at. So thank you, COVID. Yeah, other people are like, oh my gosh, COVID ruined their life in a completely different way. COVID just made my dog really, really not obedient. Let's see. I'm looking through some topics. What's everyone's Bitcoin prediction by the end of the year? Well, currently today, as it stands. It sits at 111K. I mean, if Michael Saylor says it's hitting 150, I think we'll have to wait and see what the reaction is after the rate cut today before I actually make that prediction. I mean, I hope it's 150K. I hope ETH is going to 10 grand. I also hope, you know, for a bunch of other things, like me buying the winning Powerball ticket. We'll see where I get, right? I'm sure everyone else hopes for that too. But obviously, Bitcoin at 150K, I mean, at this point, like, first of all, that would actually justify that chart that we talked about last week, which is the gold finally falling after hitting a major all-time high, tons of green candles, and then Bitcoin just ripped, and that would follow the same trend as 2020, which would shock me, just because the economic conditions of 2020 were such a unicorn and an anomaly. But it's really hard for me to sit here and tell you, like, oh, I don't think that's going to happen, because ultimately I would love for it too, right? I think we all would. So I'm not trying to, like, ick your wow. If you think Bitcoin's hitting 150K, girl, I hope so. I love that for you. ETH at 10K, LOL. I mean, why not at this point, right? What happened to all this institutional money that was just supposed to come in and double the market cap of Ethereum? Do you think BNB could ever flip ETH? Well, ETH's supply is technically infinite, right? Let's see. Currently, BNB is sitting around what, $1,000. So not only as it stands, if ETH didn't go anywhere and acted as a stable coin, it sits around $4,000. So BNB's market cap would have to 4x right now just to catch up to ETH. And then from there, it would have to go higher. So, I don't know, guys. Do I think BNB flips ETH? I think the sky would have to fall, or like Binance has to take over the complete world. Speaking of Binance, some fun news. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is a senator from Massachusetts in the US, she is a notorious crypto hater. She absolutely cannot stand digital assets. She just outright lies about how they are only used for money laundering and human trafficking and all kinds of nefarious activities. She, I don't know, you could probably accuse her of a variety of things. Like the big banks just kind of own her mouth. But when CZ was pardoned last week by Trump, she decided to issue some tweet saying that CZ pleaded guilty to money laundering, and that this is, you know, corruption and everything at its finest because of Donald Trump, to pardon CZ or anyone like him involved in the crypto space that is, quote, guilty of money laundering. CZ did not plead guilty to money laundering. It was Binance's anti-money laundering practices, their KYC standards. That was not necessarily up to snuff. But the real issue is that there was no like set standard for what that was supposed to be at the time. And consequently, you know, because it was crypto, because it was a new asset, so nobody knew specifically like what protocol and what the US's exact terms were supposed to be for these anti-money laundering things, what the KYC standard was supposed to be. But it's not like CZ just like called up people in the cartel and terrorist organizations. It was like, hey, go ahead and use Binance, please. He didn't. And even in the case, the judge said, well, you know, he has no clear knowledge of this happening. Like, how are we finding him guilty here? CZ served his time. He served 4 months, and then Trump pardoned him last week. It was also my call she bet 2 days prior. I don't even know if it was 2 full days prior, but it was my predicted call she bet that was more likely to happen for him than anyone else on the list at the time. For Elizabeth Warren to issue this tweet, it's outright defamation at this point. But more importantly, CZ has now decided that he is going to sue her for defamation because she has tweeted this, because Senator Warren has issued an outright defamatory lie about CZ pleading guilty to money laundering. Honestly, CZ has more than enough money and now more than enough time to make this a real problem for her. She hasn't deleted the tweet. I've looked back. It's still up. It was still up last night, and it was even community noted by people on X. She's fucked, but you know, whatever. We'll see. We'll see if she ends up deleting it. But otherwise, I do think CZ's going to have the last laugh on this one, especially now that he's got, you know, full free reign and a pardon to do whatever he needs to do. And you know what? Get her done. Let's see. Jackie will never let us forget the CZ call she bet. No, I will not. You know why? It was an oracle moment. You know, when you call one, you get to call one. I've also never let my husband forget the Beyond Meat call that I made originally. And it was sheerly off of the fact that we lived in LA at the time. And I was like, oh, Beyond Meat, its stock is about to IPO. Have you met a vegan? They're the most insufferable people on earth. They're not going to shut up about this. And sure enough, go back and look at the beginning of that chart. It was absolutely crazy. I am buying Swiss francs. Good for you. That's fantastic. I wouldn't even know where to get a hold of that unless it was on some trading platform. Okay, so the broth has started to boil. So we are going to start adding our meatballs. Just kind of one at a time. And I think we're going to give this about 10 to 15 minutes with the meatballs before we start adding in our veggies. This is starting to feel like that little physics experiment that they do with kids where they have a slightly full glass of water and they ask them, like, how many coins can we add to this glass before it overflows? And the kids have to guess, and it's always like way more than they think it is. So hopefully it's way more veggies and meatballs than I think it is, so that this isn't like super full, because I fucked up and I didn't pick the biggest pot that I should have. But this one is very easy to clean. And I figure, you know, I have more cookware than just Le Creuset. It is beautiful, but the Le Creuset isn't sponsoring anybody. So let's see what we can do. All right, and these are starting to cook up already really nicely. Okay, so we're gonna give this potato just trying to attack me. We're gonna give this about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna start adding in some vegetables. Let's see. I'm gonna cheat and add baby carrots instead of like chopping and peeling and doing all of the work of the regular carrots. Let's see. Do we not have Swiss franc vending machines in the US? Where would we be able to find that? We do not, but I hear that in Panama, if you go to the ATM in Panama, American money comes out of a Panamanian ATM. Let's see. NVIDIA has a larger market cap than all US and Canadian banks combined. I was seeing a lot of posts on Instagram last night, and it was talking about how NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, Meta, basically like the FANG stocks, Apple, whatever, they basically the entire US economy, if not the world's economy, are just like 7 large companies passing money back and forth. It's great. And then they'll usually post it with a picture of of why can I not think of Batman? The guy's name who played Michael Burry in The Big Short. He Christian something, right? He was also Laurie in Little Women, if you like chick flicks. It says even President Trump will discuss the NVIDIA AI chips with Chinese President Xi Jinping during their meeting today, I believe. Let's see. Peter Schiff says Bitcoin is a bubble that is about to pop. What a hater. Rude. I would say the US dollar is a bubble that's about to pop, but you know, nobody wants to talk about that. It already smells so delicious. And for the meatballs, I added uncooked white rice, but you can also just add breadcrumbs if you want it. And, you know, kind of like Italian stuff. It's same thing, different seasoning, right? Same thing, different peppers. Let's see. I'm going to go to X and look at some of my bookmarks too. Whew, this is blown up. Okay. Let's see. This was hilarious. In not crypto related news, but it is, I'll get there in a second. A truck hauling, quote, aggressive monkeys carrying the monkeys carrying hepatitis C, herpes, and COVID. This truck overturned with these monkeys in it in Mississippi. And apparently all but one of these monkeys have been quote unquote destroyed. You know. But Kobe, who is the host of the Up Only podcast, he said that the last one is streaming on Pump Fun. You know what? Nothing would fucking shock me at this point. Pump Fun really is that platform. Go to the stream. Oh, good. Yes. Yeah, that's how I felt too. Let's see. So just because the carrots are going to take a little longer to cook, I'm going to go ahead and add these now. And yeah, it's a good thing this sweater is red, and so is this broth. Let's see. I saw the Western Union will launch a stablecoin on Solana in 2026. Well, you know what most people use Western Union for? It's to send money to their home country out of the US. If you go look up exactly how much money was sent during 2020, which was probably mostly stimulus check money, meaning taxpayer funded money. If you go look up how much money was sent out of the country, specifically to Mexico alone, you will be sick to your stomach. And Western Union facilitates a lot of that. So this is actually the world's most perfect pairing, that all Western Union is a vessel to give money away. And that's all Solana is as well, because all people do is just liquidate the shit out of that. Let's see. Did you know the term joke is charat, like carrot in Tagalog? I studied Tagalog in preschool, and that's true. Is Tagalog what language is that? Is that or what country speaks that language? So the odds, it's the language of Tagalogistan. Dude. Let's see. There is a 98% chance the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates by 25 basis points tomorrow or today, now, according to Polymarket. You know, if you need to pick up $2 on a $100 bet really badly, go ahead. Risk it all. I do think that in some ways, the prediction market platforms have really just choked out meme coins by the throat, in large part because meme coins used to be the way that people kind of ran up newsworthy events. A popular actual meme, something that happened in the moment, or even a phrase. You know, just as an example, when Charlie Sheen was like going crazy, the phrase winning or tiger blood or something like that would have been something that ran up probably pretty huge as a meme coin. The prediction market, however, not only can anybody go in and very easily create a bet, unlike, you know, the fact that up until Pump Fund was created, it was actually kind of difficult to launch a meme coin if you weren't savvy enough to know what you were doing. So I think between Pump Fund, you know, really lowering that barrier to entry for anybody wanting to be a dev. You're not a dev if you have just filled out a 4-line type form on Pump Fund and hit launch. But you go ahead and believe whatever title you want to believe for yourself there. But the prediction market, allowing anybody to actually bet on what happens, I think allows just a very one-sided, like you versus me outcome. And just because you can actually sell down your shares, you know, leading up to the bet, let's say, you know, it's not like a bookie necessarily, where you go to a bookie and you say, well, I bet that, you know, the Chiefs are going to win this weekend. And like, that's it. Like, you've locked in, you're locked in for that amount. And then, you know, whatever happens, happens. The odds on prediction market platforms will ebb and flow and decrease as money comes in and out and the volume changes and people continue to add to their bets and to that volume and to that amount, meaning that you can actually sell for a profit before the bet ever realizes. So that's kind of what makes the prediction platforms a little more unique. And it's not just like, you know, DraftKings or whatever, like sports betting, essentially. So being able to bet on individual events, words that people say, obviously you've seen on something like Polymarket or Kalshi, literally the question like, what will President Trump say during, you know, whatever speech or whatever meeting with so-and-so, some other leader. And, you know, the ability to bet and then also sell your bet before anything even realizes is what makes the prediction platform more of a meme coin than an actual betting platform. And I think that's why they've really like owned it, and they've kind of killed the rest of what we knew to be that industry, sadly. Okay, so we have added carrots, celery, potatoes. We're gonna let that boil for about another 10 minutes. And in 5 minutes, I'm gonna add, we're getting kind of full. We're gonna add some corn, and then the last thing I will add is some green zucchini. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like love corn on the cob. It gets in your teeth. Like, when I had braces as a kid, I learned that you could just like, you know, cut the corn off the cob and then have it not wind up in your grill. And that is the only way I will eat it. Now, let's see, a present of presents. I think Polymarket for will Jackie still be cooking by 2026 would be good. Well, I definitely will be. I can assure you. I do this several times a week, whether or not the camera's on. So we might as well turn the camera on, right? Why is this so difficult? There we go. Woo. Turn this down. Okay, more physics, guys. Helpful. I'm just going to add 1 ear to this because I would rather have the zucchini. We're going to wash this off. How am I doing on time? Lovely. So every Monday and Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, we do this live stream. Mondays is just kind of general crypto news, some large events that have happened within the last week or over the weekend. And then Wednesdays is what you're seeing today, which is obviously, I cook some kind of a dish. Really love this day personally, just because I was going to make dinner anyway. So this is like a 2 bird 1 stone thing for me. And, then at the end, I'm usually hungry for lunch and I get to eat. It's great. Overflow the pot. Yeah, you can bet a poly market or prediction market bet on whether or not I overflow the pot here. How about we start that? $10 says it overflows. We have 10. We have 10. Let's see. Oh, man. Apparently the market is not doing well. $100 million liquidated from the cryptocurrency market in the past 60 minutes. Guys, what happened? Are we all selling it to bet on whether or not I overflow this pot? That's rude. Another headline is the former FTX US president to launch perpetual futures trading platform for stocks. Who in their right mind would trust FTX with anything at this point? I don't care if SBF is sitting in jail. The brand is wrecked. Rename it and start over. Nobody trusts this. All right, we have action. We have action. We have the BSC and intern betting against Julius Maximus that the pot will or will not overflow. BSC and intern feels that I wouldn't. Add all the core. No, we're not going to cheat. We're not going to cheat. Okay. Adding the zucchini as the last bit here. Honestly, guys, my Le Creuset is not much bigger than this. I just don't know. I would have had to get out like a giant soup pot for this. Overflow. Overflow. Okay. The spoon. It's not overflowing yet, but we're close. It smells so wonderful though. It's like so, like you can really smell like the tomatoes, the adobo, the peppers. It's definitely like not like your chicken soup type of smell. It's really delicious though. All right, hasn't overflowed. $10 a day would feed your kids. Honestly, if $10 fed your kids in a day, I want to see what that is. Is it just cans of beans and rice at this point? Or is it just boxes of mac and cheese because we know that that's all kids really want to eat anyway? Let's see. 1 drop counts as an overflow. Well, then it kind of already did. I mean. All right, so we're going to give this 10 more minutes to simmer and blend all of these flavors together here. And then I'm going to pour a bowl and hopefully take away some of the volume here. You know, this pot, this very full pot, is probably really representative of the crypto market itself right now. I think people feel that crypto is a bubble we've kind of topped. We have all of these toppy signals right now. S&P 500 hit a brand new all-time high, I think yesterday. And, you know, we've had this like massive run up of Bitcoin. Ethereum has gone up. BNB is obviously ripping. And it just feels unsustainable the way that this pot currently feels unsustainable. Where else is the extra money going to come from? We've already had institutional adoption, which I feel like is the corn in this, you know, analogy here. I have corn and I could keep adding it. So we have BlackRock, we have Goldman Sachs, we have Morgan Stanley, and they're just kind of like off to the sidelines. But could they be the corn that enters into this pot and completely overflows everything for us? It just sends everything to the green candle gods. I'd love to see it happen. Do I think they're going to do that though? Probably not. Probably not. They're going to wait till somebody comes along and dips out of this so that they can add to it and not overflow the pot and ruin everything. Interest cut overflow of corn. Yeah, okay, that too, with the interest rate cut today, that will be the overflowing of the corn because there will be more money available to put into the pot here, more corn. We know that the kids love individual Pop-Tarts, yes. Just completely off topic. One of my favorite bowl games of college football now is the Pop-Tart Bowl. If you have not seen this, this is the greatest marketing I have ever seen in my life. And it is a Pop-Tart mascot. And 2 years ago was the first time they did this. I think the Pop-Tart Bowl is in Orlando. They had a mascot dressed up like a Pop-Tart. It has this like goofy smiley face on the front of the mascot costume. And the way that they introduced the mascot was that he popped out of a toaster at the beginning of the bowl game. And he came out and he had like some sign that was like, "Hello, I'm here." And then he proceeded to just while out for the entirety of the game. And then at the very end of the game, they brought the toaster back out and the Pop-Tart mascot climbed up and he again had a sign that was like, "Goodbye, I love you," whatever. And then he went down, like he was being lowered down into the toaster to be cooked. And then in front of the team that was standing around in front of the toaster, the Pop-Tart, an actual physical Pop-Tart, like an edible one, came out of the bottom and the team was able to eat it. It was brilliant. And although I don't eat Pop-Tarts, I now, like, that brand recognition is so strong. I'm so proud of the Pop-Tart marketing team. I'm not on it, but I just have to tell you that is grade A genius marketing. And the next year, so last year, almost a year ago, they had another Pop-Tart Bowl and they had multiple mascots. Instead of just like the strawberry one with the sprinkles, they had cinnamon flavor, they had the wild berry, they had a bunch of other ones all together. So highly recommend you go take a look at those clips because they are hysterical. It is brilliant marketing, and personally, I am all for the Pop-Tart Bowl overtaking a more well-known bowl game that is one of the college football playoff bowls. I think the Pop-Tart Bowl deserves bigger recognition within the bracket. That's what I'm stumping for this year. All right, so this, let's see, is almost done. $10. Literally overflowing. Okay, so the carrots are nice and soft. The zucchini is going to continue to cook here. And this is it, guys. This is Albondigas soup. It is a Mexican meatball soup. You can use beef. You can use beef and chorizo. You can also just use turkey or some other chicken if you prefer. But really, I mean, don't bastardize it too hard. I mean, beef is really like where the flavor is, right? You know, beef meatballs, veggies, some peppers, tomato, absolutely delicious. I really hope you give this a try. I will make sure to include a photo, the recipe, all the ingredients and the steps below if you feel like trying it, if it's nice and chilly, if you want a little soup season to continue. My name is Jackie Dutton. If you do not know, thank you guys so much for participating in the chat today. If you liked today's episode, make sure you hit the like button, retweet, repost, tell your friends about it. And otherwise, I will see you guys on Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Let Her Cook and some prediction markets. I hope we get good news with the right cut today. And as always, I wish you some green candles. I will see you guys next week.